Hi guys, welcome back. It's Leanne and I'm going to give you an update of my indoor plants. This is my upstairs plant room. So what I've done is I've bulked together some plants that don't need a huge amount of attention. You can see that this tub here, I've got an IKEA tubs. These are fabulous, just the right height. I'm going to show you the side. So you can see that it doesn't stop the light getting into the plants. So this tub is full of Ficus ruby. And now it's early spring. You can see that there are some new growth tips here and there. Next to that tub is mostly peperomia and a few ficus towards the back. So you've got just the normal green baby rubber plant, Peperomia obtusifolia, a couple of variegated ones, and then in the back you've got a couple of Ficus burgundy. See the new growth there, and another burgundy at the back. And then along this section, growing on poles, I've got plants that were quite small, but I've potted them up. I usually, I think all of them have got 2 plants in a pot. So this first one's the Marble Queen Pothos. I have to turn it around because the windows are just one directional. So they're front on to the window. So I just give them a bit of a turn every now and then. And the leaves are just starting to get a little bit bigger up the top. Can't really notice it that much. They are supposed to get bigger once they realise they're climbing up. That one there's not a bad size. I have a humidifier in the room which is helping as well. This one's the Goldilocks, as it's called in Australia. The Neon Pothos is what everybody would know it as. Not putting out any large leaves yet. It doesn't realise it's actually growing up a pole yet. Once it thinks it's growing up a tree, I think that's when it'll pump its bigger leaves out. But it's been really cold right up until even this morning. It was 6 degrees outside, and this room got down to below 15. So they're really still dormant. I'm sure once the spring weather is really here, they'll be a lot better. And then I've got 2 lots of the Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. So one there, these are on shorter poles. Got another Rhaphidophora tetrasperma here. Keep the humidifier on at this stage only for about 2 or 3 hours a day. That's enough, but once it gets warmer, and definitely a lot longer. I've got a rehabilitation plant here which I nearly killed with Alocasia poly. So I've only got 1 leaf and I'm hoping that's going to pump out more. That's another Ficus burgundy, and this one's a recent one. If I've repotted something recently, then I'll put a little sign in there to remind me. So that was repotted from a water propagation in a bottle on the 22nd of August, so it's now, today's the 15th of September, so that's pretty much fairly good to go. I wouldn't muck around with it. I'm just making sure I'm watering it more than normal, and then once I get to about another week or so's time, I'll bring the water back down to normal watering levels. Over here I have a new addition. When I say new, it's since the last video, so it's now probably easily 4 weeks old. So that is called a Calathea, and I think the kind of nickname for it is Freddy. If I can find the proper botanical name, I'll pop it in the description. I like the colouring of the leaves. This one's quite easy to look after. And that, just to give you an idea of prices in Australia, that one cost me about $35. A little meter there. So its current temperature in here is 22.2 degrees Celsius. I'll put that temperature in Fahrenheit as well, and 57% humidity, which is pretty good. And that humidifier hasn't been on for a while. That's on a timer, and that went off quite some time ago. So that's what's happening with the plants up here. Just showing you the windows in the room. There's 2 windows that are fairly narrow, but they're reasonably tall. They don't go down to the ground. They get morning sun, so this is facing east. So I'm now in here early afternoon, and you can see there's no direct sun at all. It gets a small amount of direct sun, but well back from the windows. That seems to work. When it gets warmer and warmer in the room, I'll have to run the humidifier a lot longer. So what's the collective noun for a group of Ficus ruby or Ficus ruby? Rubyites. And what's the collective noun for a group of Peperomias? I don't know. What's your answer? So I'm going to give you further updates in the coming weeks. I'm going to split them into smaller videos. I find trying to do a really long video too daunting anyhow, so you'll be happy to know that I'll be doing a lot more videos finally. These plants, I do actually, when I come in here, I do actually talk to them. I keep telling these plants here in the poles that they're on a tree, but I don't think they understand what I'm trying to say. So eventually they'll work it out. They'll actually realise that they are growing on something that resembles a tree, and they'll start pumping out more growth and, more importantly, bigger growth. Now, surprisingly, I did a little bit of research, and would you believe it, even with my foghorn voice, I've got more chance of talking to my plants and getting better results than a male, because apparently the plants, they've done some studies, actual proper studies, university, I can't remember where now, if I could find it, I'll put it in the description, but essentially the plants prefer a female voice, and they actually grow a lot better with a female voice encouraging them. However, interestingly, it didn't really matter if the voices were saying negative things, as long as it was said in a nice calming voice. So how weird is that? So do you talk to your plants? Come on, confess in the comments below. Okay, so people might think that's slightly nutty, but I just laugh sometimes at the way people talk to their pets and so on. So why not plants? I know they can't do anything back except grow, but that's all I want them to do. So if talking to them works and they grow better, then I'm all for it. What about you? Anyhow, all done for today. Next update will be downstairs, and I'll give you a few really good tips about growing Marantas, because I've learnt from having huge success in a relatively short amount of time, and that's by watching other YouTubers and also experimenting for myself. Alright, so glad you could join me, and back to see you again fairly soon. Bye from Leanne in Adelaide.